Hey, what's happening? So, Xabi Alonso flying high in the Bundesliga, therefore Bayern Munich not. Thomas Tuchel looks like dead man walking, and as a result we've seen the resurgence of the rumours saying Xabi Alonso will be the next Bayern Munich manager and therefore not the next Liverpool manager, which has led probably most of us in the Liverpool sort of sphere to have a blind panic. But the big question is, would Xabi Alonso choose Bayern Munich over Liverpool? Now, to help me have this conversation, I was doing JLO Insight this week for Redmen TV over on Redmen Plus, and me and Neil Jones had a good old natter about whether the Spaniard would end up on Merseyside or stick around in the Bundesliga next season.
Tuchel is still very much the incumbent. For how much longer, no one's really certain. But what it has obviously led to is Xabi Alonso to Bayern Munich, rumours coming up again. Now, that would be a very, very Bayern Munich thing to do. But at the same time, I don't know, and this is more personal opinion than anything else, Neil, I just can't see why Xabi Alonso would leave Bayer Leverkusen to go to Bayern Munich in a summer where he could leave Bayer Leverkusen to go to Liverpool or stay at Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is it's pretty obvious Tuchel won't be in charge of Bayern next season. There's a lot of doubt, it seems, that he'll even last this season, beaten on Saturday by Bochum. That's pretty much the title over for them, it looks like, doesn't it? Although I think a few German people I know say if anyone can blow it, Bayer Leverkusen are the ones, or if anyone can rescue it, Bayern Munich are the ones. Yeah. But it looks like, Tuchel not for long at the Allianz. I saw yesterday it was a four-man shortlist. It was a wacky four-man shortlist. It looked like someone was playing Football Manager 2004 and just went.
I saw Zidane,
Solskjaer. I thought was on it. It was listed as a potential interim manager. There's obviously I think Flick, Hansi Flick was sort of mentioned as a returnee, and Alonso. So, very different kind of profiles of manager.
Zidane's becoming like an elite version of Alan Kirbishley.
Always in the betting.
He's linked with every single top managerial job, but it never seems to actually be in the running for any of them.
To address that point about it would be a very Bayern thing to do, I think you'd say that would be a very old school Bayern thing to do. That would almost, a few people have said this to me this season about Bayern, just in passing, about they've sort of gone away from that a little bit, obviously signing Harry Kane and a few other, Eric Dyer coming in, but their model used to be, who's the best of our rivals, we'll have him. They haven't always done that, have they? You look at Bellingham, Sancho, Haaland in recent years, they probably in the back in the day they would have had them, wouldn't they? Or one of them or two of them. So it would be a very Bayern thing to do in the past, and it's whether they go back to that kind of thing of saying, actually, do you know what? Especially when they lose the Bundesliga throne, how to get it? Well, let's get the people who beat us.
And that's historically normally the thing that triggers a return
absolutely.
to that.
And they've done it with Leverkusen in the past, quite famously with Michael Ballack and I think say Roberto at the same time, Lucio. So they've got history for it, but it would be whether they change tack in that regard. And it would also be whether they've already left it too late and other people have stolen the march on him, because you would hope that if Xabi Alonso is Liverpool's man, he's already learned that fact. You would hope, even if he maybe doesn't want to enter into sort of detailed negotiations on it, I don't think you would hope it doesn't come as a surprise to them. Like, oh, you do think I'm a good manager? You heard Jurgen Klopp speak about him last week, or you saw the quotes from Jurgen Klopp. I was in that briefing. And it was frameless, and he made it clear, look, please, this is not me sort of saying this is the next guy to be our manager. We're not here to sort of, you've asked me a question about Xabi Alonso's credentials, I'm answering a question about Xabi Alonso's credentials, but no one's daft. You don't sort of, we could easily have said, oh yeah, look, he's doing a great job. Look, I don't really want to sort of put too much don't want to create that story or whatever. So Klopp clearly, I thought the phrase he used really was that the next generation of managers, he's the standout. And I think that with the next generation of Liverpool managers, I think he's the obvious standout. And I don't think he's a flawless appointment or an appointment that can't go wrong or whatever. But I think he's by far the best candidate that's out there for Liverpool.
You referenced it on Substack covering Liverpool. Everyone get involved. Mel Reddy wrote an article about the potential contenders, and I think she even referenced in that it's been sort of filtered already to Xabi Alonso, and then the others,
the less perfect kind of play. Yeah, and there's nobody. Is that I said this last week with Steve? You know, that there's nobody that you go, great, that's fine. They've nailed that. We can all relax. There's going to be a question mark about everyone, whether it's their age, too young or too old, whether it's their experience level, or he has managed at the top level, or in the Champions League or the Premier League, he hasn't done it for long enough, or what's he like at Bayern players, or his communication skills, or his tactical fit. There's going to be a doubt around anyone that Liverpool will point, even if they went down the road of a Carlo Ancelotti, guy who's won everything everywhere. There would still be a doubt around that. You would find them and they would be obvious. I think the questions that would be asked about them. So, yeah, I think Liverpool fans have to get their head around that idea first and foremost. You're replacing Jurgen Klopp first off. It's not a world where there's managerial sort of gods around at this moment in time. There's a lot of managers who've had success, but there's also ones who've had bad times, been sacked, or have or still at the start of their managerial career. There's a guy I noticed he was on Melissa's piece about Farioli at Nice, and you look at him and go, 34, wow, doing big job. But
I'm not ready for the next Liverpool manager to be younger than me, Neil. I've got one more in me, I think.
100%. Yeah. That's it, isn't it? You can't be sort of calling him the young lad. You can't. It's bad enough with the players.
Yeah, absolutely. Bad enough criticising James Milner for being dead old when I'm older than him.
I've had a couple of conversations with parents of under 18s or under 21s players who are younger than me, and you think, no, I'm not. This is not happening anymore. Like that. This has got to stop. Managers, yeah, absolutely.
But the thing they've got, I think, which is kind of thing you're talking about here, is it's the old analogy, like when you buy your first house, you can't have everything, so you're giving up like the extra bedroom, or you're giving up a garden, or you're giving up a drive, or you're giving up a location, or whatever. The problem is in Liverpool, this is a bit like from the other end, where you've had the lot, you've had the mansion with the Bosch garage and the footy pitch in the back, and your tennis court and all that, and now it's like, what are we giving up to go?
Yeah, or you rent it out to a couple of young guys, and you think you're not gonna trash that spare room, you're not gonna have parties every weekend. Please don't, just keep it as it is, lovely.
But that's the thing; it's
going to be so difficult.
Yeah, what are you losing in this transition?
My sort of thing a little bit is, okay, so if you can accept that it's going to be an imperfect appointment, what's your next criteria? Right, the highest possible ceiling would be my I don't mean in the house analogy again, but the highest possible. Okay, who's got the biggest upsides out of all of these imperfect candidates? I come back to Xabi Alonso every single time I do it.
It's personality fit for me, and that's why it goes back to why I think Alonso would choose Liverpool over Bayern because of that. Because I think he's got personality. I think there's a bunch of managers who I think people are almost myopically looking at the tactical side of things and actually getting a bit lost in. I've seen a lot of thought pieces trying to sort of tracing paper, put one guy's tactics over Liverpool's current. That's not important. It's actually just important that you get what it means to be a Liverpool manager, and that's why look at like Ange Postecoglou. I don't think he would join Liverpool at this point. I don't think he would even be really high up on a shortlist anymore. But I would rather someone come in who has the right air and carries himself in the right demeanour, because Liverpool just won't. I think someone who's got the right gab and the right personality fit will get more time with the wrong tactics than someone with maybe the right tactics but doesn't carry himself in the right in the right way.
No, I agree. From Alonso, I mean, obviously the point you made earlier about would he choose Bayern Munich over Liverpool? Maybe, because he played for them. I mean, don't forget that he's got an affinity with the club. But you would also say if he wins the Bundesliga this year, the law of Bayern Munich would only necessarily be dominance of the Bundesliga and obviously a shot at the European Cup. Whereas with Liverpool, Guardiola, Arteta is one of his good mates. Big clubs. That's a proper. If your mind is that I'm one of the best managers in the world, or I want to be one of the best managers in the world, or I'm going to be one of the best managers in the world. That's it. that's your challenge, isn't it? There, that's your sort of, right, put me in that. Give me. The question would be, obviously, if he's a pretty smart guy, and the way he's tailored his career so far has been pretty smart. For an ex-player that probably could have gone straight in at a heavily backed club, he's actually done it quite, sensibly. He's gone and done youth coaching. He's gone and done B team at Sociedad. Then he's gone in at a club like Bayer Leverkusen. That's probably the next tier down. He's done it step by step. Does he feel like he's jumping too many steps going to Liverpool, Bayern Munich, or Real Madrid, or Manchester City? History tells you that not many managers have that kind of thought process where they go, I'm going to wait another year, because it could all go to pot with Bayern Munich next. We've seen Napoli this year as an example. They waited so long for a league title. I think they're 8th in Serie A or around that area. And all of a sudden your stars started to wane a little bit, or there's more questions being asked.
Well, you could have a season, Neil, where you have a mad injury spell, and all of a sudden, through no fault of your own, your team wildly underperforms, and your reputation gets damaged, your confidence gets damaged, the aura around you gets damaged.
Or you go, I'm going to stay, and Man City go, right, we'll have him. Bayern Munich go, we'll have him. Liverpool say, we'll have it. And all of a sudden you go, that's a spine of my team. And we might buy good players, but it might take them a year to sort of just get used to it.
And you're a manager of a team that's then constantly fighting against itself, and like Brighton.
And all you're getting is the constant stuff of, well, this time last year they had 20 more points, so they were it was a flash in the pan. Bayern Munich were at a low ebb, and you just happened to take advantage of it, and blah 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 blah. So there's all those considerations to have. For me, I completely understand if he was top of Bayern Munich's shortlist and Liverpool's shortlist. I would lean towards he would prefer to manage at Liverpool, not just because of Liverpool, but because of the Premier League element to it. Yeah. And also maybe he's looked at the last few years of Bayern Munich, and they've gone through managers. Nagelsmann was a young manager who went there and got swallowed up. Tuchel's an older manager who's gone there and got swallowed up. It's not hard to imagine it. The same could happen to you, even if you are a club legend. We've seen they've let managers go who were club legends. There's a lot of politics around Bayern Munich in terms of, more so than Liverpool. You're more sort of, there's obviously a lot more sort of infighting and kind of hurdles to navigate in that regard. I think Liverpool's a more stable sort of fit for a manager. But the thing for Liverpool's fans maybe to get their head around, and maybe the club as well, is just that it might be one of them that you just have to let them learn a little bit.
Yeah. Well, look, and also let's not forget that 110s are better than Lederhosen, which is shit. But the thing for me on the Bayern thing is that job's never not going to be available. Like, that will be available again in a year or 2 years. Yeah. Whereas if there's every chance that Liverpool get that right, and you could be looking another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years before that job becomes available. And listen, you might think that's what he needs to get to be ready, but you have your moments. Sometimes you get that one opportunity to, without going full Eminem, to capture your moment.
That's a good point. I think that job will be available, and and it'll be available at a time where Bayern Munich won't be that far away either. There'll never be a time when you go, Bayern Munich like 18th in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
How can we need someone to keep them up? They'll always, the worst they'll be is sort of second or third in the table, and they'll still have probably the best players in the Bundesliga and the most money, and they'll just be looking for the person to put it all back together. It won't be a case where, and I hope it's not the case, but with Liverpool where, sort of like Klopp takes over in the middle of the season where it's like, wow, like they're probably not going to get in the top 4, or they really need a full rebuild here. So yeah, I think that is a decent point. Obviously, the fact that Alonso's already been in Germany, you could say that works for him, but it could also be, well, he has, his career was a little bit like I've done that, let's go there, I've done that, let's try that. He has been a bit of a sort of a,
not a full-blown journeyman, but
but he's not been shy of taking on, I'm going to go and try and achieve that there now. So maybe there's an element of that too. He's already had Spain, he's already had Germany. Is it time for England?
Yeah, I completely agree on that. And the only thing I think that will ultimately withstand it, I think he'd be more likely to stay at Bayern for another season than he would to to choose Bayern over Liverpool. So I think that's going to be the conversation for him. Is there, does he get, and this is the thing, we're going to come on and talk about the director of football, which is going to be central to this. Liverpool are going to need to make the move and make sure they get him convinced if that's who they really want.
Yeah, there you go. What do you think? What would you do? Let me know in the comments underneath. Obviously, you choose Liverpool, right? But what do you think Xabi Alonso would do? Do you think he would opt for Bayern Munich, or is it more realistic to expect that he actually just stay at Bayer Leverkusen, which is obviously equally as bad for Liverpool? Yeah, regardless. Let me know any thoughts in the comments. Do drop a like if you enjoyed this, and remember to subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want the full show with Neil Jones, did a big old chat around the director of football search. Really interesting stuff, because we know that's almost as big a decision to be made as the manager itself. Liverpool apparently want to get that done before the gaffer comes in. So yeah, it's going to be a huge appointment in the coming weeks for the Reds. So yes, go over to redmenplus.com, sign up, check it out. And if you enjoy it, then let people know in the comments. Nice one.